Good morning, good day, wherever you are. Welcome to my channel, Graceful Mimi. I was sitting and reflecting and meditating on what to talk about today. And ironically, I found myself in deep thought about functioning in ambiguity. Functioning in ambiguity. What do I mean by that? I mean, when maybe God has told you to do something or you felt like you were supposed to do a thing and you know it to be true for sure, but all the details of the how are not the clearest. Or you have just enough information to get started, but you can't see your footsteps 10 feet ahead. You don't know where there's a blur, right? I found myself also sitting in a similar seat, and I wondered, okay, I know, I feel like I'm supposed to do this thing. I know this is supposed to happen, but, and like, what else, God? Like, what else? Like, how do I, and God does not need you to understand every single intricate detail. He just needs you to have enough faith to take the first step. It makes me think about an activity. I feel like I've done this one before at a retreat in which they blindfold a person it's group activity. They blindfold one person, and another person's responsible for delivering instructions to the person who is blindfolded. They'll say things like, turn right, walk, take normal strides forward, or take 3 big steps forward, stop, turn left, get down on your knees, and crawl about 2 feet ahead. Stand back up, turn to your right, step to the right 3 times, stop, now sit. Whoa. You want me to what? But the risk of falling and busting my tail, the risk of being embarrassed, the risk of the uncertainty. I did all this cray stuff you didn't ask me to do. I draw a firm line at sitting down. I ain't trying to be in the floor. That's sometimes what it feels like with the Lord as you take a journey in your purpose. Sometimes you're down for the ride as long as you fully understand what you're doing, right? Which sometimes he'll give you just enough. And as I said, walk. Just walk, right? Sometimes he just needs you to walk and he'll tell you when to stop. You didn't get another instruction because he doesn't have another one to give you yet. We have to be discerning and attentive to God. We have to be in this journey of life. We have to be persistent in prayer. It indeed rains on the just and the unjust. The difference is when you are journeying even through a difficult season with the Lord or an uncertain season, you do so full of grace. There's a bit of a spiritual buffer. There is a seed planting for a time of harvest, even in difficulties and difficult moments that happens. Nothing that ever happens to the child of God is without merit. If you suffer, it won't be in vain. If you're navigating uncertainty, but you're still pressing, it won't be in vain. I had to learn to trust God in such a way, and the stakes felt high. I want to tell you a story about my youngest daughter. You can again learn more about part of my journey on my husband's channel, D Carroll's reviews, or you can search Deonte's reviews, D''ONTES. I had a difficult journey, my first ever pregnancy from my prior marriage, to the extent where I had postpartum preeclampsia. And I was scared to have a baby again. Scared to have a baby again. Sorry, I'm just going to pin that for 2 seconds. Sometimes the Lord has a work that he wants to do, but because of something that happened before, you are scared to bring that work in and through your life forward. Don't be scared, because you feel uncertain of what's going to happen this time. Going back to this story, I had I was like, during contractions, it was very intense. My blood pressure was trending upward. They didn't want me to have full-blown preeclampsia, so they induced my labor earlier. And man, my first pregnancy, those contractions after that water broke were crazy. And I thought that the worst was over, but then I ended up being back home, and I have a really difficult day one day, about maybe 3 days after getting discharged. I got into a bad argument, and I just remembered my body, me having a tough day, and then my body like going into this really bad space where I just had this headache that wouldn't go away, all the things. My ankles were so swollen, child, they look like Pillsbury biscuit stuffed into some like Pillsbury biscuits like stuffed into some like ballet shoes. It was like the popped open version though. It was bad. It was difficult. My blood pressure, I couldn't even really get a read initially. Then it ended up being somewhere around 292/180. I was definitely headed toward a stroke. So they brought me back into the hospital. Usually when you have a child, if you give birth to it, it helps to regulate your body back into the proper levels. But for me, giving birth, which was supposed to be the solution, it didn't do that. They thought that it did, but it didn't. So here I am in a hospital, to the extent where they can't even get to my vein because there's so much fluid. They do way too many sticks for my comfort. I was ready to bust somebody in the face, chalk it up, and ask for forgiveness later. It was very, very, very painful to get a vein, given all the swelling and things in my body. Anyway, I ended up, getting on some medication for a time, sitting in a dark room, all the things. After that, I was like, do I have another child? Fast forward, ended up getting a divorce, and I got remarried. And one day, in the time of seeking God, I sensed that I was sensing. Actually, I'm going to rewind. One day, my husband got out of the shower, and he was like, "This child has a purpose." The Lord said this child has a purpose. What child you talking about? But there's a knowing. I knew. And it had been told to me, prophesied a couple years before we even got married, that we would have a baby girl one day. And so the day that my husband said this is us sitting about maybe a year into marriage. And then even before that, I had a moment where I was in a store and I saw this pink baby girl's dress. And it was months, mind you, before my husband said it, a few months. And I felt like I should get it, and it did not make sense. For what? I don't know anybody with a big girl this size. I don't understand. But I knew I should get that dress, and so I did. And so for it to come down the pipe where he says this to me, and then for me to have some challenges that require me to make a choice about whether to stay on and get off birth control. All this happening around the same time. God has a way of showing you the direction that he's trying to take things. Nevertheless, he gives you a choice. Almost done here. And so I ended up having a moment with God, fast forwarding to, when I had been seeking the Lord, and it felt like he was trying to speak to me about having a baby. That was hard after what just happened. Like, first of all, Lord, I'm about 40 pounds heavier than I was when I had the last shot, and I'm still trying to get my baby weight off. I know and I understand that they about 8 years apart, but we still carrying. But like, Lord, how? I had those issues. I'm heavier. Obviously, it's going to be really tough. This, that, and the other. Like, and then I had to shut myself up. If the Lord is himself is telling you that you will do something or be something, you can take that check to the bank and cash it. It doesn't mean that everything will just be laid out like a hand of cards. But what it means is that he's going to give you grace to do what he has said and put on and in you. And I had to sit with it. And I knew I had a choice. You have a choice. You have to make the choice. Don't live your blessings and leave your blessings and your purpose sitting on a dusty shelf. Letting it stay there and die with you one day. And so I was like, and I'm gonna tell you, those faithful moments that really demand something of you, to step outside of your comfort zone, they satisfy your God. If you haven't figured that out, they satisfy your God, something real and something vicious. They do a thing for him that it pleases him and makes him happy. You ain't got nothing that you can give God out here in this world, child. You can't give him no this. You can't give him no that. He's already rich. He's already that. But one of the things that does a thing for him is faith. It's the intangible thing that we can actually give. And it satisfies him. It's a gift to him, our worship and our faith. And so I was like, everybody ain't gonna understand. Everybody's gonna have thoughts. You cannot move with God based on what other people have decided is acceptable from their seat and their viewpoint. You have to do what you are feeling led to do. And he will not let you be put to shame. He will not have you out here embarrassed, child. He's going to give you exactly what you need for the journey forward. And I'm going to tell you the short end of this. It was the best pregnancy I'd had. People were surprised. I knew that I was going to have a girl. I knew that it would be full of grace. It was the best pregnancy I'd had. No problems. Not one. Not one. Blood pressure, great. All the things, great. And then to top it off, I found myself reading this great book on supernatural childbirthing. It's a faith-based book. And I made some declarations over myself prior to going into labor. And I was praying and I was worshiping. And let me tell you, I had no pain. How do you go from having a labor that was incredibly painful to arriving to a place where there's no pain? Well, mind you, this is the Cliff Notes version of my pregnancy story with my daughter, but faith, trust, deep trust in who the Lord is and what he said he would do. Women, if you want a link to that book, I'm happy to share it. But even in a broader sense, if the Lord is telling you to do something, you don't have to be afraid. He has no desire to harm you. He wants to see you prosper. You might be scared of the pregnancy, the spiritual pregnancy, the thing that God has put in you coming out. But he will give you grace every step of the way, even for difficult moments. And literally the anesthesiologist came in and was like, "Are you okay?" Like, because I see a contraction, but you seem, women are typically they're not usually okay like this. And I was like, yeah, I feel it. It doesn't hurt though. It feels like I've engaged a muscle. Mm. Mm. You're just engaging a new muscle. One maybe that you haven't worked or you haven't worked in a long time. It felt like just, I don't know what this is called, but like that, right? Or doing the one where you like kind of like squat it and bring it up, whatever those things are called. I don't know. I need to get back in the gym anyway. But that's what it felt like. It felt like engaging a muscle, but it did not feel painful at all. Eventually, I was just tired and I wanted to go to sleep. So eventually, I allowed the anesthesiologist, after about 10, 12 hours of labor, I allowed him to give me an anesthetic just so I can go to sleep. My muscles felt tired, but there was no pain. You might get tired, but God's got you. Take care of yourself as you journey with the Lord into your purpose. Do what you have to do to create a healthy environment for you to birth what you are meant to birth, even if that means cutting some people out of your life, even if that means waking up early to do some time with the Lord or journal or have some devotional, even if that means that you need to spend quality time with people who are not toxic, whatever that means, do what you have to do. There's a baby on the way. And it's called your purpose. Don't be afraid. You have grace for this one. That's all I wanted to say. Not a lot of fluff and shenanigans, but I hope that my birthing story inspires your own, whether naturally or spiritually. Allow it to come forth. I know that you are functioning in some what ifs. I don't know. I'm scared. Some uncertainty. But he is perfect. God's strength is perfect in your weakness. His ways are not your ways and his thoughts are not your thoughts. Let him do the deep planning for it. You just take the first step and keep going till he tells you to stop. Go in a different direction. That's all. Hope you have a great day. Love you. Bye.